Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. This is live stream 1221 or 1221. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out it's super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then normally I'll take a first look at a game like we'll be doing tonight. Well, we're going to be taking a look at some alpha rules for an upcoming game. I guess that's kind of a difference there. But then sometimes we just tackle a topic, or I just do the news and chat away with folks hanging out. But tonight, we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a deep dive into the Alpha Rules 1.1 for Tunnels and Trolls, A New Age from Rebellion Unplugged. So I got my hands on this at Gen Con when I talked to Benchy Corliss of Rebellion Unplugged. So tonight we're going to take a peek because I know a lot of folks out there are very curious about what might be going on with this new edition of Tunnels and Trolls. And I'm hearing different things from different people, some good, some bad. So we're going to peek in and find out for ourselves. But of course, first we're going to tackle the tabletop gaming news. So it's probably going to be about 35, maybe 40 minutes before we get on into that first look. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And then, of course, because this is a live stream, there is chat available. So you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. But if you check that box and you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Semper Buffo. Our good friend, the Madman, is back. Keith Hulu is also here, as is Shadow O'Donnell, DB, and Matthew Blackwell. I see W. Fortune. Phil Wirt is popping on in. Phil Wirt of Philadelphia area gaming expo fame. I gotta say, I'm watching a spider just go up and down here. As I was kind of going through the intro there, you may have noticed I kind of looked over like, oh, okay. He's not going to be on camera, I don't think. So he went up, oh, yeah, a little past like where my head would be. And then now he's just coming on back down. Like, okay. It's like, all right. So I also should mention the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D might be lurking in the shadows. She of the glittery banhammer, because she is one of our chat moderators, as is the Madman. Before we get into the festivities for this evening, should mention, played around with the microphone a little bit. Got a couple of new plugins. So kind of curious how the sound might be coming across. I think I've locked in some halfway decent settings as far as the EQ and such. So let me know in chat what you think of the sound. It might not sound a whole hell of a lot different than it had before. We'll see. Chris Lundgren's also popping on in, says, hello, everyone. Buddy is hanging with his poor wife. She's got COVID. While we're watching, looking for joy in the show. There will be no joy in this show. It's all bad news all the time. It's like the regular news. You know, funny enough, recently I've gotten some emails from people saying that the live stream is kind of like a little island of hope and joy in their lives. Because, yeah, every time you turn around, it's just more bad news. Oh, inflation's up. Oh, price of food went up 3% last month. Oh, you know, all that stuff. And regardless of what side of the aisle you are in your politics, that's all shit too. So I thought that was kind of nice. People were like, yeah, you know, I like to tune in. I watch your videos, makes me feel better. I'm like, okay, there you go. Just call me Dr. Jeff. Dr. Feel Good Jeff. That's right. Yes. W Forge is talking about somebody did a Castles and Crusades starter set unboxing. Well, we know that wasn't me. Wondering if anyone else got it. Well, you know, I didn't. I don't know. We'll see whatever happens. I know Agile Monk, who is a big supporter of the outlet, he's trying to get things back on track with Trollord Games. I don't know. I just think they don't care. And I figure, you know, there's enough of other publishers out there. It's okay. All right. So Keith Ulu says Draven Swiftbow and Lace and Steel Hat. Well, you know what? If you're going to sit here talking about other outlets, other reviewers and that, why don't you go hang out on their live stream? Matthew Blackwell says, sounds fine. I can give you a good EQ curve for voice. High pass at 125 hertz. Actually, I've got mine at 100. No. Yeah, I do. I have it at 100. I don't go all the way down to like 80 and 60. And then cut at 700 hertz. See, now I have a cut at 500. That's a minus 12 to 15 dB cut at 700. Is that to take like the honk out or well, it wouldn't be mud. I think that's a little too high for being mud. I know. Most of you are sitting there going, what? What are they talking about? What kind of, I thought this is a show about games, not audio EQ. Lord Cast 2000's with us, as is Martin7W. Haven't seen Martin7W in a while. Good to see you back. Very good. Very good. All right. So maybe I'll actually make that quick change to 700 hertz during a brief intermission. We'll see what happens. So Matthew says it takes the honk out. And yes, I do have a bit of a nasally voice because, for one, my sinuses are normally kind of stuffy. My sinuses are very rarely completely clear. It's because I picked that up when I was in Arizona and never gotten rid of it again. TV says, I've never heard either of those. Are they on YouTube? Shh, don't tell Jeff I made this game. I thought I heard somebody asking about it. I'm just kidding. Do whatever you want. Other outlets I'm fine with, unless they're dickheads. Then I have problems with that. But Chris Lundgren says it's that classic Chicago accent. My mom has it. I actually don't have a Chicago accent. In fact, when I lived in Arizona, a lot of people would argue with me that I couldn't be from Chicago because I didn't sound like Chicago, because I didn't talk like this. Hey, you know, we're going to go down, we're going to catch the beers and maybe we'll go get an Italian sausage or two. And I don't know, you want to go down to Maxwell Street? Like if you watch The Bear, the actor who plays the cousin, the guy, I forget the actor's name. He's a good actor. And I think it's the cousin. I only watched the one season. I haven't caught up with it. He plays the Thing in Fantastic Four, that actor. He has the Chicago accent for his character. Matthew Blackwell says, at a ping pong delay and a length delay. All right, now you're speaking Greek to me. I don't know what a ping pong delay or a length delay is. Keith Lewis says they've got a colleague who's from Chicago. She's definitely got the accent. People who have that, you know, like Saturday Night Live, which was really kind of pushing it. But if they've got that kind of accent, they normally come from the South Side. It's normally South Side Irish, stuff like that, have that. Hey, you know, I should have that star shooting across, you know, the more you know. See, you never realized this show would be so educational. All right, so let's dive on into the news because Mongoose Publishing is now taking pre-orders for the latest Traveler supplement, Armies of the Fifth Frontier War. Here's the scoop. Armies of the Fifth Frontier War details the organization, equipment, and doctrine of the major belligerents, the Third Imperium, Zodani Consulate, Sword Words Confederation. I think it's Sword Worlds Confederation. I am just reading what it says on the sell sheet. And Darien Confederation. Vehicles, personal armor, and weaponry are detailed along with their role in the belligerent powers arsenal. Learn how to handle a squad, platoon, or company of lift infantry, or how to conduct a grip and flank maneuver using the Zodani system of 5 against the Imperial 2 wings in a reserve model. Discover the advantages of network-centric warfare and psionic-assisted operations, or how to conduct an all-or-nothing meteoric assault on the enemy's headquarters. The navies might make headlines, but the ground forces make history. Armies of the Fifth Frontier War puts you at the sharp end of the conflict, deciding the fate of worlds one firefight at a time. This 164-page hardcover with PDF will carry an MSRP of $49.99. The PDF is out now. It is available over at DriveThruRPG for $29.99. Very nice. Always good to see new Traveler stuff. Chris Lundgren says, on a positive note, they went to MiniCon in Fullerton, California. It was at the Hunt Library. They won at the games raffle. They got a board game, New York, by Dirk Henn from Queen Games. I have heard of it. I have not played it. Sean O'Donnell says, Jeff has the Midwestern weatherman accent. Likely says, "Ope." I don't know. So, Sean, what we're going to see is a low frequency. No, it wouldn't be frequency. Hey, well, I guess, you know, right there, I just blew my whole pretend to be a meteorologist scam. Damn it. Damn it. Kathy Evans is popping on into chat. Good to see you again, Kathy. Let's move on to our next news piece. The first quick delve has arrived for old school essentials from Necrotic Gnome and Exalted Funeral. I've got the lowdown on milk. Beneath the mountain, a lake of milk hides a delicious secret. Here, merfolk confectioners craft the most exquisite chocolate truffles in existence until production mysteriously halts. Now, shady merchants peddle cheap imitations, claiming they come from the same source. Can characters uncover the truth and confront the wicked chocolatier and her sinister sweets? A phantasmagoric dungeon crawl for characters of 2nd to 4th level. This is designed for 1 or 2 sessions of play. It's perfect for side quests, one-shots, as well as conventions. You can easily integrate this into any campaign. It's ready to play with minimal prep. 1 page of background, some hooks, notes on important NPCs and factions, and then into the adventure. It's got easy-to-read area descriptions, as well as an unlabeled digital map, which is included for virtual tabletop use. The 16-page A5 size zine with PDF can be had over at Exalted Funeral. It carries an MSRP of $12. If you want to grab just the PDF, you can do so over at Drive-Thru RPG for $4.99. Spelling Mistake and Robert Santon are with us. Good to see you. I see Tessie Trekkie is also joining our festivities this evening. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Our Talsorian Games has teamed with Humble Bundle to offer the entire line of the Witcher role-playing game in PDF. I've got the deets on the deal. Spare a coin for the Witcher. Evil is evil, and great games are great games. Pay what you want to explore the continent like never before. Will you fight with strength and valor like Geralt or Rivia? Or forge your own path as an elf, dwarf, gnome, werebub, or Vran? And set off on unknown adventures with your party. Get the Witcher tabletop role-playing game core rulebook, the Witcher Tome of Chaos campaign, and more for a price you choose, if you choose a certain amount or more. Spare a coin and help support the Children's Miracle Network hospitals with your purchase. Right now, you can score all 6 PDF titles for a minimum donation of $15 through August 30th. Pretty sweet deal. Pretty sweet deal. You know, I am kind of curious, though. I wonder if our Talsorian Games is kind of finished with The Witcher. The reason why I mention that is we have not seen anything new for it in quite some time. They have a new fantasy role-playing game, which has come out from Cody Pondsmith, Mike Pondsmith's son. So I think they're focusing on that. And of course, you still got Cyberpunk Red. And, oh gosh, what's the other one? Castle Falkenstein. Although we don't really ever see new stuff for that either. I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I'm curious because, you know, this is a license. Licenses run out. We see that happen with Modifius Entertainment all the time. I don't know. I'm kind of curious. But I will say, if you want to get your hands on The Witcher, this is a smoking deal. You get everything that's been created for it for $15 in PDF. Spelling Mistake said they said on their Discord they're working on a second edition of The Witcher. Oh, all right then. Good deal. Very nice. I like our Talsorian Games. I think Cyberpunk Red is excellent. Its presentation is wonky for the core book. It's kind of all over the place, but all the cool stuff that's in it makes up for it. I've actually heard people who have printed out the PDF or they've actually gone in with like Photoshop to the PDF and sat there and like rearranged the PDF so it makes more sense. To me, I'm like, it's maybe a little more work than I want to put in. Daryl Erritz with us in chat. Welcome. Spelling Mistake. Love the Coriolis, the Great Dark review. They grabbed it at Gen Con. Can't wait to play. Yes, I've got a couple of reviews I shared. I've got a first look video I shared. I was pretty busy this weekend. Plus, I played some board games yesterday with the gang, minus Elliot. Elliot was under the weather, so he did not join us. All right, on to our next news piece. The latest 5th edition fantasy release from Goodman Games has arrived in stores. Here's the skinny on Beneath the Isle of Serpents. When islanders on the starry archipelago go missing, the region teeters on the edge of war. Rumor has it that a secluded island may be the source of this new peril. Somewhere on the jungle-choked Isle of Serpents lies a mystery whose origins extend back millennia. Can the adventurers plumb the depths beneath the isle and root out the threat slithering through ancient corridors Forgotten by Humanity? 5th edition fantasy number 28, Beneath the Isle of Serpents, is an all-new 5e adventure intended for use with 4 to 6 second-level characters. Combining a mix of wilderness exploration and dungeon crawling, this adventure takes place in the vicinity of the fabled Caverns of Thracia. Thus, you see the little logo on the cover. But it can be inserted into any campaign. While ownership of Original Adventures Reincarnated number 9, the aforementioned The Caverns of Thracia, isn't necessary to use this adventure, possessing a copy of that book may lead to a more enriched adventuring experience. The 24-page softcover carries an MSRP of $10.99. It is in stores right now. I'll tell you what, here's just something odd that I've noticed. I've mentioned this before. This is not on the Goodman Games website. It is on the Goodman Games wholesalers website, but it is not on the regular website. I was like, really? It's in stores. It arrived in stores, or it's supposed to have arrived in stores. So at this moment, you can't actually order this from Goodman Games, and the PDF is not on DriveThruRPG either. Probably be a few days. So kind of cool. Kind of cool. And we get a little more the Caverns of Thracia action with this. Kunfasa and Agile Monk are both with us. Good to see you both once again. Let's move on to our final news piece of the evening. You can celebrate 30 years of Legend of the Five Rings with a new role-playing adventure from Edge Studio. And here's what I know about Children of the Five Winds. Meet the clan that chased the wind and returned. Long ago, the peoples that would become the forebears of the great clans worked under the guidance of the divine children, the Kami, to carve out their place in a blossoming Rokugan. The fledgling unicorn, a group led by the fierce and wise Lady Sinjo, made the ultimate sacrifice to serve the Empire. They left everything behind to discover what marvels and dangers existed in the unfamiliar lands beyond the safety of the only home they had ever known. Centuries passed, and the great clans had long thought the wild unicorn clan lost. But then they returned. Children of the Five Winds tells the story of the 5 families of the unicorn clan. That just does not roll off the tongue. Unicorn clan. Okay, now it did. And their struggles to find belonging in an empire that in many ways considers them outsiders. Follow the Sand Road and discover the cultures of Ujik and the Quamerist Caliphate and how they influenced the perspective of the unicorn. This sourcebook for the Legend of the Five Rings role-playing game includes new schools and samurai heritages for each of the unicorn families, details on the Fox Minor Clan, and new traditions. Many new techniques, titles, equipment, item patterns, blessed treasures, NPCs, and more types of horses, and more. A look into Mishodo, or the Way of Names, the controversial talisman magic that the unicorn brought with from beyond Rokugan. A 4-part adventure in the city of the Rich Frog. A renowned and somewhat infamous writer has gone missing. Discover her fate and fulfill your duty. Will it be the duty to your lord or the duty of your heart? This 170-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $54.99. You can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $29.99. I will also mention, over on DriveThruRPG, they are celebrating 30 years of Legend of the Five Rings with some sales on PDFs. Not this one, because it's brand new. But if you were looking to check out at least the Edge Studio edition of Legend of the Five Rings, you can save a little money. You can save a little money on quite a few. Troy Cornelson has popped on into chat. Agile Monk with a $5 super chat. Says 35 people watching, only 11 likes. Show the love. Yeah. Yeah, how dare you be watching this and you don't even give it a like? Do whatever you want. I can't tell you what to do. Alrighty. So that is the news for this evening. Of course, I mentioned Drive-Thru RPG a few times. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of those One Bookshelf sites, stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners, and that way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. All that adds up and really helps keep the gaminggang.com website around. In fact, every month, it's been years, actually, since I actually shelled out for our hosting. And I say it all the time. We do not have cheapo hosting. In fact, over the last 30 days, we have had over 300,000 unique visitors over at thegaminggang.com. That's a lot of uniques, folks. And you can't have those people on your website with GoDaddy's $3. Well, I don't think it's $3 anymore. It's probably like $8. $8 a month hosting or anything like that. Gangbusters BX is with us, as is Steven from Roll for Combat. Says endless traveling. It's annoying. Anyway, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can actually support the outlet in a couple of ways outside of Drive-Thru RPG. First, you can make a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Ooh, that's so refreshing. Actually, it is. It's really humid down here tonight. Or you can become a monthly member of our Patreon. And of course, you can find links to those in the show notes. Also in the show notes, you're going to find an invite link to our Discord server. So be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. There is no charge to belong to our Discord. There are some Patreon members only channels. Not a whole hell of a lot going on them, but a few here and there. So there you have that. So we are going to be diving on in. We're going to take a deep dive into the, 30 pages of this. I haven't looked in this yet. That's about what it looks like. 25, maybe. So these are the 1.1 alpha rules for Tunnels and Trolls, A New Age. And we're going to take a deep dive. We're going to take a look. We're going to spend a little more time looking into it because it's not just a first look. A lot of people are very curious about what are the new mechanics and what changes are there. So we're going to dive on into that in just a bit. A few things I wanted to mention. First of all, I had a package sent to me from England, and it's from GMS Hobby Logistics, who I do believe is a distributor. So I get an email saying, oh, there's a package on its way. I'm like, oh, okay. So I get an email, oh, package is in customs. Oh, okay. I have no idea who it is from. I have no idea what's in it. Okay. So get an email saying, oh, it should be delivered tomorrow. Okay. And I'm, checking the tracking. It says, oh, okay, well, now it's in my town. Next day, I go take a peek. Hey, wonder what's going on here. And it's like, wrong address. It's being returned. I'm like, what? And of course, I don't know who it's from. I understand it's from GMS Hobby Logistics, but like I said, I think they're a distributor, so someone told them to send something out. I don't know who that was or what it was, but now it's making its way back to England. I always appreciate when publishers let me know that something's, coming, as opposed to just showing up out of nowhere. Because, packages do get delivered to wrong addresses all the time. Not necessarily for me, but I mean, it has happened. I've had neighbors get stuff that's supposed to go to me. I've had other people from other areas in the neighborhood, their packages dropped off here, and it's like, wait, it's not even the right street. So I'm like, Tessie Trekkie says it's Games Quest. I don't really have anything cooking with Games Quest. I don't know. I have no idea. I know what it is. It's Gangbusters BX. It's my copy of Gangbusters BX being sent to me. Now it's going right back to, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. So that's one thing. Other thing, if you watched my Gen Con recap, I had talked about how the auction was just. So Steve from Roll for Combat says that explains why you didn't get my stuff. It was delivered to your neighbors instead. No, you handed me stuff. We got stuff coming. We got first looks coming. We're going to take a look at the Leshy Dragons next week. I promise. I promise. Yes, we are. We will. So anyways, remember I was talking about the auction was shitty. It was the worst auction I'd ever been part of. I think I may have left this part out, but I think I shared this where I said, yeah, I'll take cash. And the guy came back and he had half cash. He had the rest in a check. And I said, what's that? He said, oh, it's a check. And I said, no. All cash. I'm pretty sure I did mention this. And he said, well, we're trying to make sure that, we get through the day with enough cash. And I said, well, you know what? That's not my problem. That's why I'm here first thing in the morning when the doors opened up to get our stuff and to get our payout. So he's like, well, I got to go stand in line again. I'm like, well, get going. I was like, what the fuck, because I said, because he'd asked, do you want a check now, a check mailed to you, or cash? I said, cash. So anyway, I want to say, I think it was the Tuesday after Gen Con, I got an email, and it was from the auction talking about how there was a screw up with the checks and that they had associated a new account with the software or something. So it had screwed up the checks. So nobody had these checks clearing. They were all bouncing. So it said, oh, we're going to get this solved. Everything's going to be fine. Give us a couple of days. Now, it was like I think it was yesterday, I get an email and it says, oh, yeah, this is all messed up. We're going to have to change the account and we're going to have to recut checks and mail them out to everybody. And I'm like, yeah. I'm no dummy. I'm like, sorry. Unless you're a family member who I trust, I don't take a check from anybody. But yeah, I thought that was pretty wild. I was like, yes, for a change, something went right. But I would hate to be somebody, because there were people that I was staying there and they were getting their stuff and they were just like, oh yeah, just send a check. I was like, not me. No way. All right, some discussion about, there you go. Steven says, I'm sending you a check now, but since you don't trust me, you can just throw that out. No, I wouldn't accept it in the first place. If I got it, well, then I'd put it in the bank and just let it bounce. Tessie Trekkie asks, do Americans just not have electronic nano bank account transfer bank to bank? Yes, we do, but it's usually like $25 to do a bank transfer, sometimes more. And I guarantee you they wouldn't be doing something like that. Not with, as many people as they had with the auction. Plus, you figure, imagine how much they would be shelling out in the fees for the bank transfer, because I think they normally charge the entity sending the money the fee for the bank transfer. Nope, I just took cash. I was like, yep, you can put it right there in my hand. So, I mean, I'm sounding a little ruder than I actually was, but I was like, no, I didn't say I would take cash and a check. I said cash. So that's what I'm going to get is cash. Chris Lundgren says, their wife bought Tunnels and Trolls, wanted to enjoy it, then gave up on it. Chris doesn't usually enjoy solo play, but heard from Jeff there are adventures for non-solo play. So that got my interest. Yes. Tunnels and Trolls, at least the Flying Buffalo, I almost said Flying Pig. Flying Buffalo Games editions had regular adventures that you would normally, like just like any other like D&D adventure from back in the day. The solitaire adventures tend to be along the lines of choose your own adventure, where they have numbered entries that you kind of bop around, but you would also be rolling dice with, making your checks or combat, things like that. So it wasn't just, oh, you chose this decision, so you defeated this monster. No, nothing like that. Anyway, so those were the two things that I thought were kind of odd. Package coming my way, not a clue who it's from or what's in it. And I looked into all the details, and all it said was small packets. I was like, what the hell is that? I just don't know. All right. Anyway, so I was talking about our Patreon a few months ago. Every live show, I like to give a shout out to our monthly Patreon members. So big thank you to our $5 tier, Gustavo Cavalho, Jason Lawman, Caval, Kevin R. Smith, Sean O'Donnell, and Talzek. Our $10 members, Matt W., Dan Webb, Game Cat, Pete Strakulich, RPG Munch, Testy Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM. And we have got both of our $25 tier members hanging out with us in chat. Yes, I'm talking about Agile Monk and the Madman. So Chris Lundgren's asking Gangbusters BX if they ever got Jeff's email. So, because I think Gangbusters BX would like to see Gangbusters BX get the video treatment from the outlet. But I have not heard from them. So, anyway, Gangbusters BX, you can go to thegaminggang.com and just go into the contact link. You'll find my email address there. All right. So, as I mentioned, we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a look at Tunnels and Trolls, the Alpha Rules 1.1 for a new age. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Let me show you something I'll bet you've never seen on television before. This. A glass of beer with practically no foam. No, sir. You always see beer in commercials with about this much foam. That's because every brewer tries to brew beer to look like this, because foam is part of a good glass of beer. Ask any brewmaster. Or ask me. I'm a pretty good authority on beer myself. Now, if you've noticed that the foam on Budweiser is pretty special, that's because Budweiser is Beechwood aged, an exclusive process. It takes more time, costs more money, but you can taste the difference. Well, here, taste this. That Bud, that's beer, right?
Behold the sad bride who can't cook.
I can't even boil water.
Behold the dragon who lurketh in the pantry.
Lurk.
It's a lurking dragon.
The LaChoy dragon, my lady, with LaChoy chow mein. Crisp and good as the takeout kind, because it's quick cooked in dragon fire. For a 6-minute supper, just heat and serve.
LaChoy chow mein, full of crunchy bean sprouts, celery and onions, imported bamboo shoots and water chestnuts, sweet red peppers and mushrooms.
This chow mein is delicious.
Thank you, dear.
Wait! I forgot the LaChoy noodles.
Just a friend, dear.
LaChoy chow mein, 5 different kinds, always crisp.
Quick cooked in dragon fire.
Once upon a time when the world was filled with wonder, little creatures shared the earth with humans, and magic was a way of life. Once Upon a Time is now. Empire Pictures presents Troll, the weirdest, the rowdiest, the most mischievous, and the scariest little creature of them all.
I think that what he's doing is going from apartment to apartment and transforming sections of this building into different fairy worlds.
The hell are you?
The transformation is going to begin on the Witch's Sabbath, the very same day that the Potters move into their new apartment.
I've never seen so many guys take so long to move so little furniture.
It's all your records, honey. You gotta get rid of some of these records.
What the Potters don't know is that they've just moved into the building that is the enchanted gateway to the ancient world of Troll.
Shut that damn door. Wendy!
Didn't you hear Mommy calling you, honey? No, Mommy.
It's Daddy. It's Daddy.
Harry Jr. is about to be drawn into a world beyond his wildest fantasy, and he'll need a little magic of his own to get out of it alive. Harry Potter Jr. expected to have a little trouble getting adjusted in his new neighborhood. But he never expected anything like this. Troll, where myths and legends come to life.
So you get it? We're looking at Tunnels and Trolls Alpha. So there's Troll. You get it? And now, I'm sorry, Mr. Ed McMahon. That is way too much foam on that beer. Way too much. Now, granted, it's not as much as we would see in some commercials where it's a mug and it's like half foam. I spent a dozen years tending bar. Now, granted, I didn't pour a lot of draft beer because I worked at resorts. But if I gave somebody a beer with that much head on it, they'd have been pissed. So, Kevin R. Smith is with us in chat. And yes, they do say Harry Potter Jr. in that troll trailer. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. All right. So tonight we're going to dive on in and take a deep dive into Tunnels and Trolls, A New Era's Alpha Quickstart 1.1 from Rebellion Unplugged. Now, I received this at Gen Con. You can get a copy of the PDF, I believe, in a couple of ways. One, if you sign up for the Rebellion Unplugged newsletter, or if you become a member of their, I think it's called the Game Masters Guild that they have. So that's how you can check this out in PDF. It is not available over on DriveThruRPG or anything like that. So those are the ways you're going to be able to check out this play. Well, I don't even think they're considering it to be a play test as of yet. So let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got the 1.1 Quick Start Alpha. There's nothing on the back here, so nothing to read there. So let's hop on in. Welcome to TNT. So you want to be an adventurer? Well, you wouldn't be the first. This Quick Start guide introduces you to the Tunnels and Trolls, a new age role-playing game, which we just call TNT, giving you a condensed version of the rules, a guide to creating your character, and the ready-to-play adventure trouble brewing. All you need to get going is this guide, some pen and paper. I think it would be pens and paper. A bunch of 6-sided dice. 10 is plenty. Ooh, sacrilege for Tunnels and Trolls. 10 dice. It's barely get you started. And 2 to 5 are your closest friends. And if you lack the necessary friends, why not check out our solo adventures? TNT is a game of everyday heroics and epic quests. Your adventure is taking on the mantle of destiny, or at the very least, trying not to die while charging headfirst into danger. Somewhat ill-advisedly, you have decided to eschew a safer and more boring profession to explore the uncharted, unearth the unknown, and best those who would defy you. Something also to keep in mind, the trolls of Tunnels and Trolls are nothing like trolls from other role-playing games, like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, things like that. And this goes all the way back to the first edition of the game. The trolls are more along the lines of the kind of Norwegian, Scandinavian sort of legends, as opposed to, regenerating green creatures, All right. So here's our attributes. We've got strength, dexterity, constitution, willpower. All right. Instead of wisdom, we've got willpower, intelligence, and charisma. You know what? I think the attributes are the same as original Tunnels and Trolls. Or at least the last edition. Because I've got a deluxe edition. I don't know if it was the last edition, but I did have it. It was sent to me by Flying Buffalo Games way back in the day. So we've got our stats. Your stats cover all the other important numbers that matter to your character. There are 3 stats in TNT: luck, is not something inherent to you, but is rather how fate regards you. It determines how many luck points you have, which you can use to activate talents and reroll dice. Mana is your character's internal well of magical energy, which you'll use to cast spells if you happen to know any. Stamina is your character's internal well of physical energy. When you take damage, you lose stamina points. If you ever reach 0, your character is wounded, but you get all your stamina back. If your stamina reaches 0 and you're already wounded, you're killed. Hey, I should mention, during the brief intermission, I was unable to change the settings of the mic because I actually did not have the microphone in that scene where I put the videos. So sadly, I did not get to do that cut at 700. But I am going to test that out after I finish up the show. I'm going to do that cut to that. But people were saying that so far the audio sounds pretty good. Hopefully that's still the case. All right, so we've got your background. So it tells a little bit about who you were before the start of your current adventures. So your kindred is your culture. Your motto is a short summary of your character's approach to life in general. I've only got one speed. Balls out. It's kind of our motto going all the way back to like high school. Your trait is a small way in which you stand out against your peers, giving you a once per session ability. So we have paths. Your path speaks to your approach as an adventurer. As your character grows, you can pick and choose between the 6 paths in Tunnels and Trolls, each with their own roster of powerful talents. So does that mean you can kind of move around, kind of like multi-path? We have the Path of Might. Greets challenges with a hearty laugh. Its talents support fighting forcefully, acts of athleticism, and generally getting more out of your strength. The Path of Shadow favors subtlety and trickery in its approach. Its talents help to evade, maneuver, and employ your dexterity to full effect. Path of Endurance is one of resisting hardship. Path of Spirit is one that relies less on overcoming challenges and more on redefining what said challenges are. Its talents involve inspiring your allies, talking your way past foes, and otherwise pushing your luck and charisma to its limits. Daryl Errett says, don't feel bad. Seeing from Roll for Combat just streamed a Q&A and you couldn't hear the cues. Really? Womp, womp, womp. But I do notice very few people are saying what the sound is like. So maybe it's not any good. I don't know. I don't know. The Path of Craft is one of folk magic, the little tricks and knacks that nobody pretends to understand. And that just didn't come across. It just didn't seem to make sense there. Its talents provide crafts that aid with everything from fighting to preternatural perception or otherwise mobilizing your willpower. And then we have the Path of Wizardry, aims to harness deep magic to manipulate the world. Its talents let you use your mana and intelligence to cast powerful spells. Okay. Types of rolls. Standard roll. When you undertake a challenge where you might fail, you'll make a standard roll. You roll as many 6-sided dice as one of your attributes and try to beat a target number by rolling hits. A standard roll is usually shortened to attribute target number. So a strength standard roll with a target number of 2 would be written as roll strength 2. Target number of 2. Oh, is that the target number you're looking to get on the die? So Matthew Blackwell says, audio sounds pretty good. Cool. That's what I'm aiming for. Although the EQ I had prior was all right. It wasn't too bad. Like I said, I picked up some new plugins and I'm checking them out. So I guess that's what I'm getting out of that. The target number would be 2. Because it can't be your target number is 2 on the total of dice. Okay, I'm going to roll 2 6-sided dice. I'm hoping to get a 2 or better. Whoa. Opposed roll. When you're doing something and someone else is actively opposing you, you will make an opposed roll. It's basically like a standard roll, but instead of trying to beat a target number, you're trying to score more hits than your opponent does on their roll. Usually this is against a non-player character's monster rating, which is their catch-all attribute. MR is covered more in the GM section on page 20. So an opposed roll is usually shortened to attribute versus opponent's roll. Before any dice are rolled, you need to know what you're up against. If you're making a standard roll, the GM will set a target number to reflect how hard the challenge is. This is up to the GM's discretion. Following as a guide. TN1, simple. TN3, risky undertakings. You might get hurt. TN5 is incredible and foolhardy endeavors. So are we looking at a dice pool here? I think we're looking at dice pool. I don't think we're totaling up dice. Well, actually, I know we're not just from this. Yeah, there's got to be a dice pool aspect to that. Sometimes you might want to help a fellow hero on a roll. Isn't that nice of you? To do so, first explain how you're going about being helpful. Based on your description, the GM will be asking you to make an SR with the attribute in question, depending on your plan, usually a TN of 2. If you succeed on this roll, your fellow hero's roll is blessed. If you, however, make a dramatic setback, the roll instead is cursed. Martin 7W says, yep, it's a dice pool. Roll it. Oh, here we go. Dice showing 4 to 6 are hits. Dice showing 1 to 3 are misses. Easy peasy. Blessed or cursed. So are we changing our range? Yes. That's exactly what it is. Blessed roll, 3 to 6 is a hit. Cursed roll, only 5 and 6 are hits. Exploding multiples. Whenever you roll 2 or more dice of the same value, and those dice have rolled hits, they explode. So better die behind cover. For each set of multiple hits, add dice to a separate explosion pool. For every double, add 2 dice to the explosion pool. For every triple, add 3 dice to the explosion pool. For every quadruple, add 4 dice to the explosion pool, and so forth. So I wonder if they explode. You may then roll all the dice in the explosion pool, count any hits rolled to your total. You may choose to not roll an explosion pool. See dramatic setbacks below to know why. Yes, if you roll any multiples in your explosion pool, you create another explosion pool and roll again. But dice in different pools cannot be paired together. Got it. So you're not building off of the first rolls that cause the explosion. Your explosion pool, if you get doubles, triples, what have you, then that explodes again. Exceptional successes. If you roll 3 6s in any one pool, you've rolled an exceptional success. Okay, so far, not having looked at Tunnels and Trolls in a while, which I mean years, since I did my review, I gotta say, this seems more complex. I thought this was streamlining things. I don't know. I don't know. Just seems to me like it's got a little more going on. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. If you get an exceptional success, you've succeeded in spectacular fashion, and you probably don't need to keep rolling dice, though you may. Dramatic setbacks. If you've 3 1s across all pools, then you've suffered a dramatic setback. Aha. So that's why you might not want to roll exploding dice pools. Because as an example, let's say you rolled 4 dice. You got 2 hits and a couple of 1s. Well, you could roll 2 more dice. But if you get another 1, then it's a dramatic setback. When you roll a dramatic setback, stop rolling dice. You count as rolling no hits, even if you scored hits with your other dice. Immediately set your luck points to 1 for better or worse. The savvy reader may realize that you're more likely to score a dramatic setback the higher your attribute. First off, well spotted. Aren't you terribly clever? Secondly, you know what they say. The bigger they are, harder they fall. Kevin R. Smith says, so they've taken at least one step to keep the number of dice rolled manageable. What, you don't like rolling 50 dice, Kevin? That's why when I did my review of Tunnels and Trolls, I really liked it. I thought it was very cool. And for a game that was created in 78, 79, somewhere around there, maybe even a little earlier than that, its mechanics felt far more modern than like D&D. If you look at, say, Holmes Dungeons and Dragons, or even BX. So the one thing that I was curious about, I got the impression that high-level adventuring would be a problem. And then it even talked about, well, you can divide the number of dice by 10 or whatever. I was like, but yeah, you're still not getting that range. But yeah, I always got the impression that lower level, or because I don't remember if you had levels in Tunnels and Trolls. Maybe you did. Regardless, less experienced adventurers, I think, would have had it easier than the higher experience adventuring. So they've got luck. As mighty adventurers, you're not satisfied merely being at the whims of fate and sometimes take matters into your own hands. After rolling your dice pool or any explosion pool, but before rolling your next explosion pool, you can spend 1 or more luck points. For each point spent, you may re-roll 1 die. Luck points can be spent to create doubles or triples, but you can't re-roll a dramatic setback. Fate has already decided for you. If you're entirely out of luck points, you can spend an adventuring point to fully replenish your luck. All right, so there we go. We got another currency that we're going to be utilizing for the player characters. You can also regain some luck points in combat. Otherwise, you replenish your luck points at the start of each session. You might get some back when you put yourself in the danger of combat. This is not in the quick start guide, though. You guys see the core rules. Once again, keep in mind, this isn't set in stone yet. And if you checked out my interview with Benji Corliss of Rebellion Unplugged, he was talking about they're not going to take this to crowdfunding until it's good to go, until it's done, until it's ready. So this might be a ways off. Okay, so we got outcomes. Standard roll. If you roll at least as many hits as the target number, you've succeeded. Hello, yay. If you scale the wall, ambush the troll, con the merchant, or whatever it is you set your mind to. If you roll fewer hits than the target number, you failed. Wah, wah. And then we got the opposed roll. Whoever rolls more hits wins the roll, succeeds on their actions. If the result is a tie, you're at a standstill, and something else needs to happen to shift the balance one way or another. Sometimes, like in combat, it matters how much the winner succeeds. Count how many more hits the winner rolled than the loser, and I bet you that's going to have some damage coming into play. So we get an example of play. It's Whiskers, who is a gnoll. We've got Toadkin, the game master. So it looks like this is 3 players and the GM talking in and out of character. I don't know, in a quick start, I don't know if that's necessarily something you needed to point out. Here's fighting. Fighting in Tunnels and Trolls is slightly more structured than regular gameplay in order to capture the drama and action of combat. It takes place in a series of rounds, each of which represents a moment or beat in the fight. Before the rounds start, players roll initiative to see how fast they're able to act. After that, each round of combat follows these phases. Fast action phase. Heroes who succeed in their initiative roll act. Monster phase, the enemies act. Slow action phase, the remaining heroes act. End phase, end of round effects are resolved and the fight either ends or continues to a new round. So all players roll initiative by rolling Dex 2. GM may change the difficulty based on the circumstances, like an ambush. Kevin R. Smith says, according to Wikipedia, Tunnels and Trolls was first published in 1975. The 5th edition, which is probably the basis for future versions, was published in 1979. That's why I had 78, 79 in my head. Thank you for checking that out, Kevin. Martin 7W says they played some solo adventures of TNT in the 80s. Yeah, well, I played some adventures with TNA in the 80s. No, actually, been late 80s, early 90s. Anyway, moving right along. This is a family show. I know. Yeah, right. I already dropped an F-bomb earlier. Okay, tags. Tags are keywords that have specific mechanic effect in the game. You can use something to fight in close quarters. It will have the melee tag. If you're knocked to the floor by a heavy blow, you've been knackered. When you go out of your way to hide behind a low wall, you're in cover. Tags might be permanent or temporary and can all be recognized from the all caps. You can find a list of all the tags that feature in this quick start guide on page 31. Well, there's more pages in this than I thought. Threat. Characters build up threat during the course of combat, representing both how much pressure they're under as they get their armor beaten down and start running low on energy as they try to fend off attacks. You can track this with pencil and paper, but it might be easier with some tokens. Pennies, sweets, or pieces rated from your least favorite board game all work. You know, this is very conversational in tone, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. Especially if they're kind of aiming for kind of a lighter sort of, I would not expect the conversational tone if this was like a grim dark role-playing game. So, Chris Leonard asked, did the company that originally made Tunnels and Trolls only create one role-playing game back in the day? I think there was another one that they did. I think it was like a pulp. If I remember right, I think it was a pulp action game, but I could have swore it used the same mechanics. But Flying Buffalo Games was known for Tunnels and Trolls. That was their game. That's what they released, I don't know, 20 adventures for. All right, so we've got the fast and slow action phases. Oh, okay, so hang on. The threats. How much threat a character has will impact which heroes the monsters attack, the effectiveness of striking them, and will interact with different abilities and tags. Okay, yeah, there's a little added complexity there. Fast and slow action phases. Any hero that succeeded gets to take one action in the fast action phase. Any hero that failed instead takes an action in the slow action phase. When you take an action, choose from the following: strike an enemy in melee, shoot an enemy at a distance, spell to use magic, stunt to court danger and take dramatic action. Then we have the monster phase. All enemies take actions. The GM decides what exactly they get up to, but it's pretty straightforward. Most enemies will strike. Enemies who are under attack may choose to defend. If an enemy has other actions available to them, such as shooting a ranged weapon or casting a spell, they may decide to do that. Enemies with the elite tag are more independent, and the GM can do whatever they want with them. Okay. Then we got the end phase. Characters that keep going are in it to win it, pushing themselves hard to get the edge. Any hero that decides to keep going, they choose one of the following. Regain 1 stamina as they catch a second wind. Regain 1 luck point, but also gain a threat as they push their luck. Yes, you can do this if you have 3 threat. And no, you don't take any more threat if you do. It says here a character cannot have more than 3 threat. You can withdraw. Continuation. If there are no monsters left, the heroes win. They immediately replenish 1 luck point. Depending on the circumstances, they might have an opportunity to take a break to replenish their previous stamina and mana. If the monsters decide to keep going, the heroes may opt to surrender. If the monsters decide to withdraw, the heroes may opt to negotiate. You got surrender and negotiate. So we got our actions. Strike. Heroes roll strength. Monsters roll their monster rating. Both sides roll additional dice equal to their opponent's threat. Whichever side wins inflicts damage equal to the difference in number of hits scored. See below for more on damage. Regardless of the outcome of the action, the targets of the strike gain 1 threat each. Remember, characters can't have more than 3 threats. Can monsters? I wonder. So N815E is with us in chat. So it's Nate. So it'd be Nate15E. I'm like so dense. When people have like these kind of like coded nicknames, I can never figure out what the hell it is. It's like, 80085 is with us. Troy Cornelson says, time for bunnies and burrows. Yeah, there you go. That is a classic. So if I remember right, they were talking about that damage comes off your stamina. When a character shoots, they choose 1 target they can see. Again, if you're not sure, you can probably see them. A strike is an opposed roll with following modifications. Heroes roll dex. Monsters roll their monster rating. Only the defender rolls additional dice equal to the attacker's threat. If the attacker wins, they inflict damage equal to the difference. If the defender wins, no damage is inflicted. So I thought threat is a bad thing. So why would the defender be rolling additional dice equal to the attacker's threat? Wouldn't it be the defender's threat? Maybe I'm misunderstanding threat. I can cast a spell. You can also do a stunt. Or in, say, Dungeon Crawl Classics parlance, the mighty deed. So Nate says, don't bother trying to figure out my nonsense. So Keithu says that Greg Kinnear is, wait a second. No, it's not Greg Kinnear. Wasn't it Dave? What the hell was the singer's name? 8675309. In fact, he passed away not too long ago, a couple of years ago. Kevin R. Smith says, that's okay. Their first encounter with Let's Speak was a poster on a message board whose name I thought contained the number 1337. Tommy Two-Tone. No, that one, is that? I thought the singer's name is Greg Kinnear, like the actor. Did the song, I think the title's Jeopardy. Our love's in jeopardy, baby. Chris Lundgren's rocking on out. Good to see you, Chris. Hopefully your wife gets over the COVID quickly. W First says, I heard YouTube is allowing a freer use of the F-bomb without consequences. You know, there is a video. I have not taken a peek at it, and it's like, oh, new things. Oh, there we go. Keith Ulu says, Greg Kinn. That's it. The Greg Kinn Band. Actually, that Jeopardy video was kind of cool. And all of a sudden, he's like having a nightmare, and it's all like these skeletons, and well, it's kind of creepy. He's getting married, and he's like, oh, man. All right. But wasn't it Greg Kinn that did 8675309? I don't know. It's been a long time. Okay, so you got the stunt. You can also defend, which is monsters only. So when a monster defends, they roll their monster rating and reduce their threat by 1 for each hit rolled. Yeah, see, that's why this shoot doesn't seems. I would think that it would be the attacker rolling dice equal to the defender's threat. Keith Lewis says, now it's Tommy Two-Tone. All right, cool. Yeah, that's cool. Like I say, yeah, it's been so long. All right, damage. When characters take damage, they reduce their stamina equal to the amount of damage. That's what we thought. If a monster's stamina reaches 0, they're defeated. If a hero's stamina reaches 0, they are wounded. When this happens, they restore their stamina to max, reduce their threat to 0. If they're already wounded, they are now dead. I wonder if we have any sort of conditions here. Many characters make the sensible decision to wear protective gear to combat. Whenever a character takes damage while wearing gear with the Armor X tag, reduce the damage they receive by X. So here's our character creation. Looks like we've got, does it look like we have different options, or is it just rolling dice? Rolling attributes, roll a die, divide the result in half, rounding up. Add 1 to your result. That's your character's strength. Then in order, repeat the process for each attribute. So I seem to recall Tunnels and Trolls had the 3 to 18 range. So now that's changed things up. Daryl Arid, armor reduction. They were ahead of their time. Yeah, I have always been an armor reduction type person, not armor class. Although games that do use armor class have gotten better at explaining that it's really not just hitting, it's actual doing damage. So you're going to have anywhere from 2 to 4. You can roll your background. So if you want, you can determine your kindred. So we have human kin, we've got half kin, dwarf kin, elf kin, orc kin, goblin kin. So then you can, if you want, you can roll a motto. I've only got 1 speed balls out though. So I will be using that. Roll your starting path. Might, shadow, endurance, spirit, craft, and wizardry. And we also have a talent. We also get our traits from that. Then there's a bonus talent. We got our gear. Oh, there you go. Roll to determine your starting tool. I've got a stick. I got gum. I got candy. I got a rock. Roll an accomplishment. You encountered a troll. You discovered a wizard's tower. And then there was a complication. So as an example, we've got seduced a noble, but it turns out they weren't really my type. Okay. Add details. After rolling up your hero in full, you may make one last tweak. You may swap the value of any 2 attributes you've rolled. Remember to update your stamina and mana if either of the attributes changed, or will or constitution. So it's going to give us our ancestries, our kindred here. Going to explain our traits, our paths. So we've got Path of Might. Obviously, that's a fighter type. Path of Shadow should be a rogue type. Path of Endurance, I don't know. Paladin, maybe, because it's showing Protector. Path of Spirit. Taking a guess, maybe that is a Cleric. Path of Craft would be more like a Mechanist of some sort. Path of Wizardry, I think we know what that's going to be. Cthulhu says, but it's a pointed stick. Okay, so I threw in the but it's, but I'm sure that's what Cthulhu meant. Then we got the gear. Basics, a dagger, club, helmet, stick. There we go. Maybe you left home in a rush, or maybe your favorite sword broke. It'll do for now. It's melee -1, clutch 2. Like clutch hit? So it's a baseball bat? Sharp bow, short sword. There's troll quartz. Got gear tags. So here's party creation. So this was kind of something that was a Tunnels and Trolls aspect that no other game I was familiar with, even to this day, utilized. You would actually have your combat, a lot of things, it was like the whole group was rolling dice together. So I wonder if they well, I guess obviously they're not going to be doing that for combat in that, but here we got party creation. Your party concept answers the question, why are you all doing this thing together? Your tagline, meanwhile, gives you a little bit more definition. It could be an explicit motto you've all agreed to. Oh, explicit language, all right. Or more of a vibe that summarizes the working arrangement. Or you can, of course, roll randomly. If you got connections, how are your characters connected? So I guess now there isn't something that's going to build off a party dynamic. Here's an example of combat. Little information for the game master. Stop. If you're not the GM, you don't belong here. Sorry. The rest of this guide is for the GM's eyes only. Talking about rolls. You should only be making the players make a roll if a failure would be interesting, dramatic, or drive the plot forward in some way. Maybe the hero achieves their stated goal when they fail a roll, but makes the situation worse for themselves. Alternatively, maybe they fail outright, but another opportunity presents itself. Or maybe the thrill is in the risk the hero is taking, knowing full well they're in for a world of hurt if they fail. If it's not interesting when the heroes fail, why make them roll dice? That's kind of my thought process. If it doesn't matter, if it's not dramatic, if nothing really is at stake, why are you rolling dice? That's how I gotta look at it. And I know there are game masters out there and players out there. It's just, they just like rolling dice and just sit there rolling dice all night long. I don't subscribe to that. Monsters. Making an antagonist for the players to fight is extremely simple in TNT. Give them a monster rating and you immediately have the dice they roll for any test, as well as their stamina. At the start of an adventure, MR2 is your average mook, MR4 is a tough but beatable foe, and MR6 is dangerous. Then to flesh them out, maybe give them a few tags from the list on page 31 or make some up. Luck and difficulty. Dice are fickle things and they'll lay ruin to the best laid plans, both the players and the GMs. Routine encounters can become deadly and the big epic fight is surprisingly easy. The best rule for trying to manage this is not try and control all the outcome, but to roll with it. So talking about replenishing stamina, mana, and luck, and life and death. They may be heroes, but they're also mortal. In play, That means that a character death is always a possibility, but one that should be clearly telegraphed. For the GM, you should look out for heroes who are wounded. These are characters that could be felled by some errant dice. If the hero plays it safe, focusing on taking cover and running from combat, they shouldn't be a priority for their foes. However, if they instead court danger, charging into battle once more, then they're putting their fate in the dice. If a hero is in risk of dying, the GM should make explicitly clear to their player what the risks are and give them a way out. If they decline, the rest is on them. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I would think if a player has put their character in a bad situation and they've kind of been warned about it along the way, I think they're going to have to accept what happens. Kevin R. Smith says, rolling dice is fun, but too much can slow things down. Too much combat in an adventure can be a drag. I don't know how most of you out there feel about it. But to me, if I were doing a 4-hour session, in that 4-hour session, I would probably look at maybe 3 combat encounters of, some length. Now, when I say some length, we're probably talking 10, 15 minutes. But that's why, really poor adventure design is when, like, let's say it's a dungeon delve. You're sitting there and you're like, okay, so we went into this room of the dungeon. Oh, and there's a monster. We fight the monster. And then we go into the room next door and, hey, there's another kind of monster. We're going to fight that now. And then we go to the third room. Hey, guess what? There's another monster. Okay, that doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah, what are they living on? But yeah, to me, that's just a drag. You gotta mix stuff up. Some social encounters, some investigations, some things where your players have to kind of think things out. Daryl Errett says, but their luck goes up when playing risky. Yeah. So here's our adventure. Trouble brewing. The party of heroes all arrive at the Rusty Bucket Tavern. Oh, jeez. Another adventure. I get it. It's just a quick start. It's probably 2 pages in length. But still, it's another adventure. You're starting off in a tavern. Starting off in an inn. You're in this bar. All arrive at the Rusty Bucket Tavern in the village of Market Thornley in pursuit of the rumors of a tunnel. Hey, could there be trolls in that tunnel? There they can speak to the patrons, investigate the rumors, and have a drink after the long journey there. Whether by following a lead, being tasked by the barkeep, or otherwise exploring, the party ends up in the cellar of the Rusty Bucket. If there's giant rats here, man, I am going to just lose my shit. Oh, there you go. Son of a bitch. There, among dusty shelves of barrels, they run into a swarm of rabid giant rats. Okay, so is this meant to be a joke? This has got to be meant to be a joke. The heroes will need to fend off these giant rats. In the aftermath of their glorious victory or being embarrassingly rescued, the heroes discover a crack in the wall, which leads into a tunnel, a gateway for future adventures. So that's all we get? They're in a tavern? Go fight some rats? That's our adventure? My God, that's like the exact beginning of the Pathfinder starter set adventure. They're hired to go down and kill the rats in the basement, and then they find a crack in the wall that they can climb through. All right, so some information about investigating the tavern. So we get Act 1, speaking to the patrons. So we get some of the NPCs there. The adventurers. The barkeep. Traits. getting to the cellar, I think you're going to take the stairs, right? Dusty Trekkie asks, is that a parrot person? Let's see. This looks kind of like an owl person there. Oh, yeah, there we go. That was a parrot person. Beastkin, I guess that would be. Whatever you'd like. Then we got the cellar. I gotta say, there's quite a lot here for just going to a tavern and then going and killing some rats. So what happens during the first round of fighting, it's giving you some ideas of the various different paths and how those characters would approach that. Here we got some tags. We've got combat tags, monster tags, gear tags. What's next? Join the Game Masters Guild. Remember, that's how you can get a copy of this in PDF. Follow them on Kickstarter. Yes, there is a Kickstarter page. Although, like I said, I was told by Benji Corliss of Rebellion Unplugged that they are not going to kickstart this until they feel that it's ready. That's why this is an alpha. They also have a Discord. Here's our character sheet. Mechanically, looks kind of interesting, I have to say. I am curious about that. This adventure, though, for essentially being a tavern that the players are going to talk to some people where basically they're just going to the cellar, right? There isn't anything after this. Maybe they're trying to find out about that tunnel. But I was going to say, this is a lot of text here. Maybe a little overkill. I do understand this is an introductory adventure, and this is kind of laid out as if someone has never run a role-playing game or probably played a role-playing game. So I get that. W4 says, they may be rats of unusual size. Yes. Let me go check out the stat block for the rats of unusual size. All right, so that's a peek inside the Quickstart Alpha 1.1 for Tunnels and Trolls, A New Age. So, of course, stay tuned. I will have news as it develops, when this goes to Kickstarter and so forth. I am kind of curious. About this. I don't know, outside of what Benji Corliss told me, I don't know how strong Rebellion Unplugged feels about solitaire play, because I know that was a big thing for the previous editions of Tunnels and Trolls. So I don't know. Daryl Eritz asks, what happened to the three attributes back page? So there's our strength, dexterity, constitution, willpower, charisma, and intelligence. And then we get our luck, stamina, and mana based off of them. So they are derived from our attributes. Those are our stats. And our wounded box, I guess you get to mark that if you're wounded. But certainly not an overwhelming character sheet. It's not like we're looking at, 4 pages or anything like that. All right, there you go. Very cool. So once again, just quick peek. Well, I shouldn't say quick. We actually invested quite a bit of time taking a look at the quick start. Like I said, I'm curious. I am interested in learning more. I'm going to take a guess that we will see some changes because this is an alpha. And I have been hearing through the grapevine that some people are barking back about these rules and how they're just too much different than classic Tunnels and Trolls. So I don't know. We will see. We shall see. Mark Hawkswell popped on in. Welcome, just as we're getting ready to wrap up. So the rest of the week, tomorrow, we're going to dive on in, take a look at the Labyrinth Adventures book from my friends over at Cobalt Press. I should also mention, they were kind enough to send me everything that's out for Tales of the Valiant for Foundry. So gonna be checking that out, gonna be kicking that around. I might look to run a little bit and might need a player or two, because it's probably going to be Elliot, my brother Greg, and my nephew Cameron. If we could get like a fourth or fifth player like in person, then I would just be running stuff in person, but that's probably not going to be the case. So might have an opportunity to jump on board. A couple of one or two lucky viewers out there. Anyway, so on Thursday, I'm going to dive on in. We're going to take a look at Outgunned Adventure from Two Little Mice and Free League Publishing. Next week, we are going to, I think I'll do it on Wednesday. We'll do a War Game Wednesday. My friends over at Flying Pig Games sent The Rock of Chickamauga, which is designed by my good friend Herman Lutman. Look at the size of this box. And it's heavy. Very nice, very nice. So that's what we'll be doing a week from tomorrow. We'll do a War Game Wednesday. Dive on in that. All right. That's it for this time out. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, tip of the cap to you, because not only were you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I was going through the news and while I was flipping through the quick start. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you kindly for taking time out to watch any of the over 2,300 videos here on the YouTube channel. And of course, when you're not watching videos here on the channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Of course, if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube. Also let you know when I share other videos, such as my review of Starfinder 2nd Edition, Murder in Metal City. I almost said Metal and Murder City. Murder in Metal City, as well as Coriolis, the Great Dark Core Rules. So, a couple of reviews for you. I also did a first look at the Cypher System starter set. So, some videos to keep you occupied. Anywho, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. But regardless, as always, I certainly hope every single one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.